for Gemini for the spring of 2017. Now, I've changed my readings, changed the format, and the cards. The cards I'm using are the Gods and Titans deck from Stacey DeMarco, and also the Goddesses and Sirens deck from Stacey DeMarco. I've split the energies of masculine and feminine, male, female. I've got a female reading and a male reading separate. I'm using a pyramid spread. I'm calling it a pyramid spread, but I don't really assign any of the cards. Just kind of getting the overall energies and how it kind of flows through each sign. I've yet to find a good masculine deck other than the one I'm using here for clarifying. So I'm using the Voice of the Trees oracles, and it's basically Mickey Mueller has made this deck, so I'm using that to clarify the male. And the female side, I'm using the Kuan Yin oracle by Alana Fairchild, and this is very dramatical in the feminine energies. That's the energies I get from. Very good for feminine, soft energy. So I'm using that to clarify the female side of things. So I'll get right into it here and start with the feminines. Now, we start out with the Geminis for the spring with illumination. Now, it seems like these Geminis, I remember giving a reading before, saying they were really in the flow of things, they were getting it, they were doing it before anybody else is doing it. So that's that illumination. They're carrying the torch. They're starting the walk in the direction, and now, you know, the ants are going to start filing behind. So they're really leading that way for people in a spiritual way. It's not like these people are really going to be headliners in the public eye. You really have to feel from your heart to figure out where these Geminis are coming from, because only then will you notice what is going on. The second card I have here is reduction. Interesting. And the first thing that comes to mind when they say that is their field of friends. You know, so I'm feeling like they're either going to be doing that, taking that upon themselves to be reducing the areas that they give their time and energy to. They're finding that there's some places it's just not warranted, and they're realizing that now, and well, over the spring, and they're going to be reducing that, reducing the amount of abuse that comes at them any longer. And I think it's from a deeper potential of illumination in the way where they realize now they were being trod upon. Before, they just never had a clue. They did not know that these people were really not in their best interest, but now are starting to see, because of being illuminated in such a way that they can see this clearer, and now they're going to start making amends to that, or not amends, but making plans from that, reducing the amount of friends that they give themselves to. They may just, you know, still stay friends, but they're not going to give their heart and soul anymore in the areas that they don't need to. The third card we have in the options here is plenty. So I feel like the Geminis have had plenty already. I think a lot has come at them. Fruitful stuff has come their way. I think that they are very aware of why it has come, and that is all the abundance that they have created themselves. So I feel like this is all in the workings here. So as we go to the second rung, we get self-trust. So there may be a little bit of doubt as to the path here. Maybe not doubt as much as, yeah, just continue to trust yourself. Because I don't feel like they're really in doubt. I feel like they just kind of think, well, should I get an opinion? Should I, you know, feeling weak-willed in that way, but not necessarily in doubt at all. I think it's just, you know, it's not that a Gemini can't be a leader and take charge, because they absolutely can. But they're just feeling a little naked in the way that maybe I should ask for opinion, but I don't. You know, so it's learning to do that without the backing of a lot of people. And that's really what it is for these Geminis. The feminines, of course, we're still in the feminine. They're just needing to trust more in themselves. Not that they doubt, but just that they need 5 people behind going, yay, like cheering group. And then they feel better about it. So they have to really do this on their own now and feel better about that. And that will slowly build. Because I feel like this is where they're at. Because they're starting to let go of people's criticisms. But they knew what was coming at them was the wrong. I mean, if they're going to criticize, they know it's the wrong thing. But they still feel naked, like, oh, I got to go. I know it's the right thing, but I still feel naked because there's nobody backing me. It's in that kind of a way. Naked, like vulnerable, right? Because you could be at the mercy of people going, yeah, see, I told you so. You know, but Geminis are not really even thinking that way anymore, especially the feminines. They're just trudging forward. The next one I get is gateways. So that's interesting. Gateways, it brings to me, no matter what the book probably has a different meaning, but gateways to me is options, opening up the doors. More than just having an option, it's opening doors, making opportunities for yourself. And I feel like the Geminis have been on that path. They've got those doors open. Now they're going to look at them, seriously sit down and go, okay, what do we have here? What am I actually doing? Now the outcome is hope. So there may be a little bit of a lag here as to when you actually take action for the female Geminis. I feel like they're working on their self-trust. I feel like they've got self-trust. They're just not used to not having the backing. So they're a little bit, you know, like I said, they know what they're doing. They just wait for the cheering section to kick in. And it's kind of like there ain't going to be none. And if you're really in the right spot, I feel like these Geminis just ain't going to have any. They just aren't going to have any cheering section. But if you know from the core of your being what you're doing is right, that's what you really need to come from. So the hope still needs to be in place, because hope is really what you need to have before you take that action, right? And that's what I feel like they're holding back on the action. They've done and been rewarded, so they're on that path. But now are they going to do again and continue to go? And they're hoping, okay, this is a little weird. This happened. I got rewarded for this. Let's try it again. You know, so they're in the swing and they're getting rewarded. So they're just got to rely on that rather than this is what you should do. You know, taking all of those outside. The temple is within, so they have to go from within and have that complete faith in there and the hope as well. Now the clarification card that came up was weave the future golden. The idea of this card is that we think of the future and we weave gold into it, so that it, you know, really mingles with the hope. If you think forward in hope, the gold is like the best hope you could have, even beyond what you could think. And I think too the lesson here is even if you're being rewarded for things and it's not in the way that you expect, you've got to have faith that that is the way that is going to do you better, and it will lead you to the better places. So this is really what it is about the weave of the gold. It's like we're going to weave it with gold, and the gold is the absolute best that you can get. And though they may not, you know, you're looking at this fabric, you may not see it as the whole worth that is intended for you to see, but down the road you're going to have this big blanket, and there it is. That's the beauty, is the finished product. And I feel like this is definitely the Gemini's pyramid right now, is, you know, going to really to train yourselves to be in a mode where you're manifesting and in the flow, and it's just going. You're not having lag, you're not having pauses, you're not having breaks, you're not having stalls. You're just in the flow and you're continuing to do so. And that's what I feel like weaving the gold is having that hope for the future and that positive attitude. And even though you have that, and you get reception, you receive things that are in that way, positive, but you're going, that's not quite what I wanted. Have faith that that is going to get you further than what you could plan because of our limited ability to perceive what we need so clearly, right? There's a little bit of a mask there. And I mean, if we saw everything, there'd be no challenge. But just have faith that what you're going to get rewarded for, even though it's not exactly what you want, it will get you to where you need to be. And it's golden. It's more than where you can predict, yourself to go. So that's really good. It's a little bit of the Geminis going, okay, flowing with things. Not exactly how they're manifesting, but believe me, it's the end result. And I'm not saying end result like the end of your life, but I'm saying, your goal here and your spiritualism and the way you're going with things. In that way of mindfulness and manifesting. I think these Geminis, whether they're aware or not, meaning of the inner ability to create outer things, they're just in that flow and doing it. And so they just really have to accept that the future is going to be better than the present. And, a lot of things have happened up to now, and they're going to increase. So that's really the essence I get here, is that you're on the increase. You're in it, you're doing it, you're illuminating, you got plenty, and the plenty's coming, making more gateways to get more areas to gain that. And you have to keep the hope, the self-trust, and be illuminated. And, the reduction, I feel like they're shouting family at me, but it's almost like maybe within your family there's a lot of naysayers, so you have to limit that as well. That may be a challenge there. But friends, family, that you have to kind of limit your access to because they're really being a bummer and you can't get through that. So, yeah, and the nakedness of the self-trust, you have to just trudge forward. You can't have your cheering group with you. Just get used to that because eventually they'll be ahead of you. They won't be behind you following you. They'll be ahead of you cheering you because you're leading the pack. And that's what you need to really get down. Is like, yeah, in order to really get those masses in front of you cheering you on, you got to get rid of the ones that are behind you or not at your side. So that's really a lot of the sense I'm getting there for the feminines. Now, scoot over for the masculine energy here. Masculine Geminis for the spring. The first card we get is action. Thor, man. He's built for action, just not quite in it. So it's like it's all around him, but he's just ready and waiting. And then the next one I get is balance. So, yeah, the sense with these Gemini males is that they're ready for action, but they're not traveling yet. They're ready to move, they're just not in the car. They're in the car with the key, but they're just not moving. The wheels aren't turning, and the reason is because there's a little bit of an imbalance there. They're trying to balance some things out, home and family, work, life, that kind of thing. Getting things straightened out. So they're feeling the things that are out of crux there, and they're trying to balance that out. Discovery. So within all of this, being ready for action and balancing out, there's the discovery of more to come here. At the second level, we have ecstasy. So they're really wanting to indulge, these Gemini males are wanting to indulge on that one-to-one companionship and delivering the passion, because this ecstasy is really about giving and receiving from the heart. And I feel like it's compassion that they're wanting to come from, but not only in a heart sense interiorly, but compassion in a physical sense. When you're talking about males, you're talking about physical stuff here. What can I feel? So these Geminis want to feel compassion. They want to feel all of those things from the depths there. They don't want to just talk about how they feel. They want to feel how they, you know what I mean? I mean, men are physical. That's the way it is. Now, we have flow in there too. So, I'm I'm really getting a sense that the love is going to help them with this, and their partners, male or female, are going to really bring something to the table here through that. Your end result is focus. So maybe it's a lack of focus, right? That you're kind of squandering, you know, you're not quite all in your energy. And through that, you know, you're ready for action, but feeling it's not the right time to go. So there's that imbalance, not quite knowing how to deal with that. It's like you feel like you have to discover more things. There's more things I need in order to go forward in faith and truth. Not even truth, but faith and courage, you know, like to have that backing. It's like there's something more I need to know here. And then the flow, it's like, yeah, it's coming. It's coming. That's the sense I get here, because you have the focus, the flow, and the discovery. So it's all in a great flow on the right side of things. And then you have the action, the ecstasy, and the focus. So it's almost like through the ecstasy, there's going to be an unraveling of something to illuminate these Gemini males into where they want to be. Because they're ready for action. It's like they got the tools. They're just waiting on a little bit more. A little more information, a little more background, a little more whatever. And I'm seeing it's very varied. Not necessarily in work, not necessarily in love, not necessarily in family. You know, it's all over. In every area, there's some balance that needs to be taken in, and there's just a high sense from the inside that these guys are out of balance, and that's what they're waiting on. Is to balance that out, and there is something that they need to discover through the balancing and through also the compassionate and the care. And it's a physical thing with these males. I'm getting it very strongly. You know, this ecstasy card is not just a guy sitting around with his wife talking about how great it could be. No, it's interaction. You know, me making you feel good, you making me feel good. And that, in that flow of things, not pushing the issue, not going into these areas when you don't feel like it, and not making the other one go in there when they don't feel like it either. So it's just a balanced level in the flow, and then you get your focus. Then the outcome is, yeah, you know what? And it may just be an expression of that ecstasy brings out a release of a boundary that they had up to help them focus and help them balance. Now the clarification card I got was Blackthorn, which is an adversity and sacrifice card. Now, this really talks about the inevitability of being harmed, being hurt. And though, you know, in the card here, the guy's, you know, he's looking and he's kind of like, what do I do? But you cannot do anything about the wound. It is there. So you just have to tend to it after the fact. It's like the adversity is there. You feel the scar. Now you got to just tend to the wound. There's not much you can do about what caused it. So there's some kind of a hurt here that happened. And I just instinctively put it over the ecstasy and the flow. So it may be within the relationship. You feel like you're being stabbed at. You cut a little bit. Something that your partner did may have, you know, cut you down to a point where you're like, oh man, you know, and it may not be something that you can reverse. You can't reverse it. You can't pull it back, take it, you know, you just have to tend to the honesty of the emotions and feel those out and move forward. That's all you can do is heal from it. So, yeah. So that could go a good and a bad way. I mean, see, as it's a clarification card, it kind of darkens the reading a bit, saying, you know what, there's some bad energy here and some little bit of stabbing that's going on. And though it is inevitable, this is going to happen, you just have to deal with the aftermath, really. You have to deal with the aftermath. Yes, it hurts. Yes, it's not nice. And it's scarring. But you have all the energy you need to focus your way out of it. It cannot be, it couldn't have been thwarted, cannot be. So it's something that, you know, over the spring for these Gemini males is just going to happen, and there's nothing that you can really do to thwart it. Now I'm getting a scenario where the Geminis are really seeing this coming and trying to get away from it, but yet it's like, no, it happens anyway. So it's almost like it could be a friendship, could be a lover, like I said, giving you a jab there that it's really painful. And somewhat in your instinct, I think you saw this coming, though maybe not feeling that it would be as painful as it will be. So out of that scenario, which seems to have taken a darker turn with the clarification card, you're going to get some focus and you're going to reboot and move forward in a better way. And there's a little bit of balance here that needs to be paid attention to. Like I said, I don't think that this adversity or this sacrifice that is made or happens can be avoided at all. It's going to happen no matter you see it coming, and I do get the sense that you do see it coming, and though, like I said, not to the degree that it actually hurts you. I think you're foreseeing it, but you're thinking, whatever, I can't do nothing about it, so you kind of put it out of your mind, and then when you actually go through it, it is a lot more painful than you give it credit for. So, yeah, a little bit of a darker side there. But the Geminis are very, they're ready. It's almost like they're preparing, and this may be a little bit of a setback for the direction that they were going, I think. Yeah, it's feeling like a close friendship, close relationship, close family. Somebody that kind of just stabs you in the back a little bit, and it's not good. But you deal with it with grace and dignity, and all you can do is just, mend your wound and carry on. There's no sense in, I think you understand that to an intellectual degree. There's no sense in causing a ruckus because it's really not going to do anything anyway. And if you don't realize that, that's really another sense of this card, is that you can do all you can. It's unavoidable. You get it, you tend to it, and you move on. And that's really the best way to deal with that situation. So for the males, the Geminis, a little bit of a setback. A little bit of a setback for their flow, because I remember last reading they were doing pretty good. They're pretty high on the horse, so this may be taking them down a notch. I don't feel it taking them out, but taking them down a notch where they're kind of licking their wounds a bit. They know they got to do it, but they'll move on and they'll get up. Might be a slow start to the spring, and then summer comes, and what do you know? The sun's out, and we'll get through it. That kind of energy. So the feminines, again, they're really illuminated. They've got to make some cutbacks in the positive circle. I feel like they don't have to cut people out of their lives, family, friends, but they really have to cut the negativity, because they're realizing that that's really what's setting them back. So they're going to do that. They're going to reduce the amount of negative feedback that they get, and they know the direction they want to go, and anybody that has anything to say about it, they're just not going to pay no mind to that. They're going to let that sweep away, and they're going to deal with the people that will deal with the things that they want to deal with. The positive attitude, the positive direction, that's what I'm talking about. You want to go negative, you want to I'm just not going to see you as much. And that's really the sense what I get for these females. So a lot of plenty coming their way, a lot of gateways opening up for them. They need to, get involved in the self-trust, amp that up and keep the hope. Weave the golden future. The future ahead of you is golden. You just have to be actively in tune with that. You have to actively hope and do your visualization work. Keep your mind clear, and and that's a lot of that reduction of the negativity is going to help you weave that future, because there's a lot of abundance that's ready to come your way. You just really have to stick to the core of what you're finding out here. I think you've got the precursor to all of it. You've got the beginnings of it. So you just have to keep going with it, and then let it build. Let it build. So it's a very, very good for the Gemini females. The Gemini males are kind of really There's a conflict, not a conflict per se, but someone stabs you. You know, these males, someone hurts them to a degree that they're kind of not prepared for. It would be the best way to say that. So hopefully, you know, the summer, I feel like the summer they can just pop out of it. It's easier. Just the spring, you know, it's kind of maybe gloomy a little bit. So it's even harder to get out of that. Yeah, so overall, a fair reading. Not so great for the masculines, but the feminines are really strong and trudging their path. And like I said, they just got to get rid of the people behind them and start looking at the people ahead, because those are the ones that are going to feed you and get you and just celebrate you when you are where you want to be, instead of questioning why do you want to go there. You know, okay, you go. I just want to go because that's where I want to go. You know, I don't need to have anybody, you know, judge my way. And that's really where these Geminis are sitting. So hopefully that helps on your spiritual journey. Hopefully this makes sense, because there's a lot of really deep stuff. But, you know, when you put your life issues into the mix here, it starts to clear up and make sense. So for the Geminis for the spring of 2017, masculine, feminine energies, good luck. Take care, have fun, and be kind.